Hello and welcome to another No Mince View Guide. This video I'm going to be showing you how to make a cheese and minced beef pie. I have here half a pound of mince, which I'm going to turn the heat on now. And that's going to start cooking while I show you the rest of the ingredients. I have my cheese sauce, which I've just made in the previous video. I have 8 ounces of self-raising, that's all-purpose flour. I have 4 ounces of margarine, and I have 1 ounce of caster sugar, that's baker's sugar for you in the States. And I've also got a flan dish. This flan dish is what I'm going to make my pie with. It's not as big as my other one. I've got an apple pie in this one from the other day that I made a couple of days ago. They do stay fresh for, well, you know, that one will be edible for another, I don't know, 3-4 days yet, as it stays, you know, as it stays there. But anyway, let's get on with let's get on with this pie. I'm just resetting my camera so you can see. There we are, there's my meat. Now you'll have to excuse me if my iPad isn't, I don't have a stand for it, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Right, I have got, as you can probably see, it's just basically a ladle really with holes in, and this is just for browning my meat. Now if I move that to that ring, I can turn that ring off because this ring's already been on, so it'll heat up quicker and you can see better from there, obviously. Okay, so I've got my meat set to brown. I'm going to take my flour, I am going to take my margarine, excuse my fingers, they are clean. I do wash my hands regularly. I'll remove my rings in a moment. And I'm going to add my sugar. I've also just got to go and grab a pinch of salt. Now when I say a pinch of salt, it's not much, you know, it's not a lot. Roughly, rough estimate, about half a teaspoon. If you like. I mean, it won't be half a teaspoon, but you know, you can add half a teaspoon because it doesn't, you can't really taste the salt. So I'm just grabbing a teaspoon. I've got my salt here, and I'm putting in there you go. Can you see that? That's it. That's all you need. It's not going to, you're not going to taste it. All you're going to get is the flavour of the food, because once it's in the pie, it will then enhance the flavour of the meat and the cheese combined together, giving you a very, very tasty pie. Now I've made this in the past, I've made it a few times in the past, and my nephew and my brother, they really like it. So I'll get on with this. I'll go and make the pastry in a second. I just want to turn the meat. The only thing I'm going to add to my mix in a minute is 5 tablespoons of water. That's it. Right, quick hand rinse and a quick dry. You're going to like this bit. And hands, bare hands, Nice clean, I've just washed them as you've heard. Straight in. Don't faff about. You know, you don't have to mess about, it's not hard. It's very easy, very, very simple. I'm going to show you how to make a pastry crumb in roughly 90 seconds. Now, you can see how quick I've been doing it. You can see what I did a moment ago. You were here when I put in the butter and the sugar and the salt and the flour. Well, you weren't here when I put in the flour, but there's 8 ounces of flour, self-raising all purpose. There's 4 ounces of margarine. There's 1 ounce of caster sugar, which is baker's sugar, and there's a half teaspoon of salt, and that's your lot. Mix it all together, and you're going to come out with this crumb. Now this is ready. I'll show you how fine this is now, and you know how long I've been mixing it with my fingers, just like that. Didn't take long, did it? No. Right, well, here it comes. There's my crumb. This is what I'm going to make my pastry with. Look how fine that is. Look, less than 2 minutes. You can't beat getting pastry like that. Seriously. Right, I've made a well in the middle. That's where I'm going to add my 5 spoons of water. Right, I'm just washing my hands. Let's face it, nobody wants sticky hands on your food. Right, I'm just going to grab this while I put in 5 tablespoons, sorry, of water. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's all you need. Now, the other trick I like to do is I like to leave it to absorb into the flour. Not many people do that, but I like to consider myself as an old school cook, if you like. I'm just going to leave it to soak in while I turn the meat. I don't know if any of you have tried my no yeast bread. That's a very, very old recipe actually. Well, when I say recipe, it's passed down by word of mouth. It's not, there's no recipe book for it. You know, it's something that was made during the war. It was made in the 1914-18 war when there was no yeast, and it was made again during the Second World War. Now, I wasn't around in any of these wars because I wasn't born till 59, and so you know, I've never seen these recipes. The no yeast bread is, I was talking to a friend of mine not that long ago actually, and they mentioned, do I know how to make bread? And I said, well, you know, I do know of a recipe that my grandmother used to make well before I was born, and it took me a little while to remember it actually. I mean, I'm getting on now, I'm 56, you know, so it begins to worry me, that the fact that I have to really think about things like that. Anyway, I remembered it, you know, after all these years I remembered it, and I made it, but it just doesn't taste like any bread I've seen. It tastes like pancakes. Apparently they used to eat it and serve it as bread during the war, but you can serve it with gravy. You don't have to eat it just plain as it is. You can put butter on it, you know, if you want to. I don't know if you know what crumpets are. but you can serve it like crumpets, so you can put butter on it, you can put peanut butter on it, but it doesn't slice, which is the strangest thing, because no matter what knife you use, you can't slice it. You have to pull it apart and dip it. So I presume that's what it was for. But it's a very, very old recipe. It's almost 100 years old, that. And I literally made it the other day. Now, I will admit, it took me a little while to make it, because I got it right first time, which is unusual for me. And you know, it worked. And I was quite pleased with myself, but I don't, you know, I don't do pride, or I don't do anything like that. I just get on with what I've got to do. So anyway, this is now making my dough. Now you saw I washed my hands just before I stirred my meat. I've not touched the meat by hand, so my hands are still clean. All I'm doing now is I'm turning the water that I put into my crumb into a dough. That's all I'm doing.